After years of silence so bitter it split a family in two, Thomas Markle has finally spoken. And what he revealed may become the most devastating claim ever to hit the modern royal story. Not through lawyers. Not through court documents. But in his own trembling voice, during a private interview that is already sending shockwaves across the globe. The man who once proudly walked his daughter down the aisle. Who watched her rise from struggling Hollywood actress to global duchess. Has now dropped a revelation so explosive, it threatens to collapse everything the public believes about Meghan Markle's pregnancies. Thomas Markle is not holding back anymore. He is sick. He is furious. And he says he is done protecting a daughter who erased him from her life. With a voice heavy with regret and unmistakable rage, he uttered words that, if true, will echo far beyond Buckingham Palace. Meghan had a hysterectomy when she was 28 years old. I have the medical records. I've had them for years. The room reportedly fell silent. Because if Thomas Markle is telling the truth, then every pregnancy announcement, every carefully staged baby bump, every royal birth story presented to the world, was built on an elaborate deception. And this is not a distant relative chasing attention. This is her father, the man who raised her, speaking with the authority of someone who says he watched this deception unfold from the very beginning. But this is only the opening move in what may become the darkest chapter in modern royal history. According to Thomas, the surgery took place in 2016, just 2 years before Meghan met Prince Harry. He describes it as the result of long-term women's health complications she had struggled with privately for years. And here's where his claim becomes even more disturbing. Thomas says he possesses copies of the medical documentation because Meghan was still covered under his insurance policy at the time, meaning every record, every notice, every confirmation passed directly through him. The procedure, performed at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, was, according to Thomas, a complete hysterectomy, making natural pregnancy medically impossible. For years, he stayed silent. Not out of fear. Not out of loyalty to the crown. But because, he says, he believed medical history was private, something that should remain within a family. That silence shattered in 2018. The moment Meghan announced her first pregnancy with Archie. I was watching the news, Thomas recalled, his voice breaking, and I knew immediately, something was very wrong. He says he sat frozen, staring at the screen, realizing his daughter was about to mislead the entire world. The timeline, he claims, tells a brutal story: hysterectomy, 2016. Meets Harry, 2016. Marriage, 2018. Pregnancy announcement, 2018. According to Thomas, there is no medical scenario in which Meghan could have physically carried Archie herself. He claims he attempted to reach out privately, not to expose her, but to urge honesty about surrogacy. But by then, Meghan had already cut him off completely following the paparazzi photo scandal. And that's when the story turns even darker. Thomas now admits something that has been consuming him with guilt for years. He says he knew about the surrogacy arrangements from the very beginning. And he stayed silent. According to Thomas, Meghan contacted him exactly once after severing ties, not to reconcile, but to make sure he would never speak. Through an intermediary, she allegedly made it clear, if he revealed anything about her medical history, legal action would follow, and the family would be destroyed completely. So Thomas watched, helplessly, as pregnancy after pregnancy was presented to the public. As the royal family, the press, and millions worldwide were told a story he says wasn't true. I should have spoken up when Archie was announced, he confessed, tears forming. I should have protected those children from being born into a lie. But then comes the most disturbing claim of all. Thomas alleges that the surrogate herself was never told the full truth. According to him, she believed she was carrying a child for a private couple, never informed that the baby would be presented to the world as a royal heir. He claims the surrogate only realized the truth when she saw Meghan on television. announcing a pregnancy at the exact same time she herself was carrying the baby. Watching what he describes as his grandchildren being used as props in an international illusion finally broke him. Thomas says he is speaking now because he has been diagnosed with a serious heart condition, and he refuses to die knowing he helped cover up what he calls the greatest fraud ever perpetrated on the British public. But his revelations don't stop with him. They pull another family member directly into the storm. Thomas finally confirms what royal watchers have whispered about for years: Samantha Markle's cryptic warnings. Her constant references to timelines not making sense were not random attacks. They were coordinated signals. Both Thomas and Samantha, he says, had access to Meghan's medical history. And both watched in horror as the surrogacy narrative unfolded on the world stage. We talked constantly, Thomas revealed. Samantha kept telling me, "Dad, when this comes out, everyone will ask why we stayed silent." They made a pact to protect the children's privacy while they were minors. But Thomas says recent events have forced his hand. And this is only the beginning. Thomas claims that Meghan's legal team has spent years quietly pressuring the entire Markle family into silence, threatening lawsuits if anyone dared to speak about her medical history. According to him, those threats worked until they didn't. Thomas says there came a point where fear of legal consequences mattered less than what he describes as a growing sense of moral responsibility. This, he suggests, is why both he and Samantha often spoke in careful hints rather than outright accusations. They weren't being vague by accident. They were watching, waiting, testing whether the media or the palace would investigate on their own. Thomas insists they never wanted to be the ones to destroy Meghan's life, but they also couldn't live with what he calls a deception that kept expanding year after year. Then, according to Thomas, something changed. He describes a moment that pushed him past the point of silence and into what he calls full disclosure. And the allegation he makes next is the most explosive of all. Thomas claims he tried to warn the palace before Archie was born. According to his account, he contacted what he believed were proper channels, attempting to alert Queen Elizabeth's private secretary that there were serious questions surrounding Meghan's pregnancy, questions that, he says, needed to be addressed before any child entered the line of succession. The response, Thomas alleges, was immediate and severe. He says he was told, clearly and unmistakably, that any attempt to interfere in royal family matters would result in swift legal action and permanent exclusion from his grandchildren's lives. No discussion. No investigation. Just silence. They knew, Thomas claims. They knew there were questions, and they chose to bury them. If true, this allegation carries staggering implications. It suggests not just personal deception, but a potential institutional decision to ignore unresolved concerns in order to protect the monarchy's image. Thomas says he possesses documentation supporting his attempts to contact palace officials, including certified letters and email chains that he claims show senior figures were aware of the concerns. And if that documentation holds up, Thomas argues, the issue goes far beyond surrogacy. It becomes a question of deliberate concealment at the highest levels of the British establishment. Thomas further alleges that palace silence came at a price. He claims there was an unspoken agreement, what he calls a deal with the devil, in which Meghan's secrets would be protected in exchange for Prince Harry's continued cooperation and compliance with royal expectations. But according to Thomas, that arrangement is now unraveling. He says he is no longer within their reach, and no longer afraid. Thomas claims he spent years quietly preserving records, convinced that one day the truth would surface. Among the evidence he alleges to have are medical documents related to Meghan, insurance records he says reference surgery, and correspondence with medical professionals. But the most damaging claims, according to Thomas, involve personal communications. He alleges that in 2018, Meghan sent him a series of text messages acknowledging the use of a surrogate for Archie. He recalls her expressing panic over public appearances and pregnancy photos, questioning whether people would believe them. Thomas further claims to possess financial records showing payments to fertility clinics and surrogacy-related services that align with both Archie's and Lilibet's timelines, payments he alleges were structured through management channels to avoid scrutiny. Perhaps most explosively, Thomas claims to have audio recordings of phone conversations in which Meghan allegedly discusses surrogacy arrangements and fears of exposure. He insists these recordings were made with her knowledge, during what he believed were private father-daughter conversations. According to Thomas, copies of all this material have already been shared with journalists and legal experts for independent verification. And just as the allegations reach their peak, Thomas introduces one final claim. He says Prince Harry has known about these revelations for weeks. According to Thomas, attempts were made, through intermediaries, to stop him from going public. He alleges offers of money, medical support, and even the possibility of reconciliation were placed on the table in exchange for silence. When that failed, Thomas claims, the tone changed. Pressure replaced persuasion. And now, Thomas says, there is no turning back. Thomas claims that Prince Harry's legal team delivered a final warning, one meant to silence him permanently. According to Thomas, he was told that speaking publicly about Meghan's medical history would trigger defamation lawsuits so aggressive they would wipe him out financially. But Thomas says something in that warning revealed more than it was meant to. He claims Harry wasn't speaking from confidence, he was speaking from fear. Harry isn't angry because I'm lying, Thomas says. He's angry because I'm telling the truth. And he knows the truth will destroy everything he's built with Meghan. According to Thomas, Harry has been living under the shadow of exposure since the alleged surrogacy arrangements began, knowing that all it would take was one leak, one disgruntled employee, or one medical professional unwilling to stay silent to bring everything crashing down. Thomas claims that pressure has taken a devastating toll on Harry and Meghan's marriage. He alleges there have been years of explosive arguments behind closed doors, arguments centered on whether they should come clean voluntarily or continue what Thomas calls a deception that has grown too large to contain. Thomas further claims that after Lilibet's birth, Harry wanted to confess everything to his family. But according to Thomas, Meghan issued an ultimatum of her own of divorce if Harry revealed the truth. Now, Thomas says, the marriage itself is unraveling. He claims Harry understands that the truth is coming out whether they control it or not. And as time passes, remaining silent no longer makes him look like a victim, it makes him appear complicit in what Thomas describes as a deliberate fraud. And then Thomas escalates the situation beyond anything seen before. He issues an ultimatum that could permanently end the Sussex story. Thomas publicly demands a DNA test, one comparing his genetic material to both Archie and Lilibet, and he wants it done within 30 days. If those children are my biological grandchildren, Thomas says, the test will prove it. And if they're not, then Meghan has some explaining to do about whose children they really are. The demand, if carried out, would place Harry and Meghan in an impossible position. Agree to the test, and risk exposing everything. Refuse the test, and fuel suspicion that may never fade. Thomas claims he is prepared to undergo the DNA testing live on television, overseen by independent medical professionals, with no opportunity for